Hey, what's up? Ken from Palm Beach Dyno here. We haven't had a video in a long time, but this is a very special occasion. We just got done with the very first Hellion F150 Sleeper kit. This kit features a lot of really important details that we're going to go over in the video. We're going to dyno it. We're going to show you draggy runs and all that. Why Sleeper kit? Well, it puts the turbos underneath the vehicle, which really keeps the heat out of the engine bay, which is super important to me. And it also allows for direct feed of the turbos, since the turbos are very close to the manifolds. We'll go over all the advantages, but first, let's take a look at it. Let's talk about the kit. It has 62 Hellion turbos, which are the absolute best choice for this setup. The spool is super fast. It'll make boost on the foot brake, and huge amounts of torque for the best average power. Now, let's talk about the truck in general. It features a stock intake manifold, stock converter, stock trans, stock drive shaft, stock diff. That's right. This is basically a stock truck with the Hellion turbo kit, ID 1300s, a 4 triple pump system, the lowering setup, which is a vast 3.5 setup with Keltrack suspension, and the Cortex boost controller, which is going to be set up for boost by speed. Anyway, let's take a look. All right, now we're in the truck. I want to show you some features on the inside, man. I'll tell you what, I've been, street tuning this thing for the last week, and I absolutely love this setup. Just no question about it. This is an awesome deal. All right, the first thing you'll notice is it's nice and quiet. No real crazy exhaust noises or any of that, but you reach under here, and now, that's right, the Hellion Sleeper kit comes standard with an electric cutout. This thing even has a factory catback setup. So let's go ahead and take it for a ride with it closed, and I'll tell you a little bit more about it. Like I said, over here, it features a Cortex boost controller, and then it has a button here. This button is to bypass the two-step setup, which is used to spool up, and we'll show you that on the draggy runs. But you can turn it off so you can do burnouts or brake boosting while rolling. Now, as you can see, this thing drives absolutely flawlessly. This is with the cutout closed still. One thing that's really nice about these turbos is you're going to get a good amount of part throttle boost, so it's very responsive, whereas maybe on some supercharged vehicles or larger turbo setups, you really have to lay into it to see much at all extra power than you would feel over stock. Right now, you can hear the turbos right now. I've got like quarter throttle. Now this is with the cutout closed. Let's go ahead and open it. You guys can see the difference. Hopefully you guys can hear that in the video. So as you can tell, with the cutout open, you can still hear me fine. It's very quiet. I prefer this setup over my own personal truck, which is an extremely loud setup on my Whipple truck. Although, you know, that's one of the big differences between the turbos and the supercharged applications. And when people ask my preference, it's really hard to say because they're both badass. But the turbo setup is going to be a lot more docile. Obviously, you've got adjustable boost. It's generally quieter, especially with this setup. Now, of course, you could just have a different exhaust on this and it would be loud all the time. I prefer this stock cat back with the cutout, and it made awesome power, which we're going to show you in just a few minutes. Let's go ahead, and we're not going to do any draggy stuff yet, but I just want to show you, you can just lay right into it. Well, I better put it in four-wheel drive because two-wheel drive is not going to do it on this setup. Now I'm just going to floor it. I mean, instant response, super awesome. So we're going to do some draggies in just a little bit, but first we'll show you the dyno pulls and all the results, which were really, really awesome. All right, let's go over the numbers. These are the pump gas numbers, 712, 606 on 12 pounds of boost. Now, keep in mind, when I say pump gas, that varies depending on where you are. Obviously 93 versus 91. Being a high compression engine, they're very timing sensitive. So 1 degree of timing difference can make a big difference in power. So I would say this is at the top end of what you might expect on pump gas. 640 to 650 is probably a little bit more realistic across all the different variations of 93 we get out there across the country. Either way, killer numbers. One other thing to remember is turbo placement. With these turbos being underneath the vehicle, that removes almost all the heat from under the hood that you get with some other kits. You know, I know they look nice up there, but you've got the downpipes and the turbochargers themselves make tremendous amount of heat. As you go up in power, you'll run into issues with the PCM and the brakes, and then you got to put heat protection on all that stuff. Plus, the turbos being under the vehicle gets a great fresh air supply. For those of you that are worried about air filters on the turbos, Hellion does make this kit with pipes that go up into the engine bay for those of you that want to make sure you're not getting anything into the turbos under the vehicle. This customer chose to delete those. I would personally not run those myself. Let's look at some of the other numbers. So right here we're at 712 and 606, 791 and 750, 13.7 pounds of boost. Now let's talk about something else. Torque versus horsepower. We've got 791, 750. It's very square, which isn't always what you're looking for, but in this situation, it works out great, and that's because of the 62 turbo and the factory intake manifold. I've seen other vehicles out there make similar numbers, but much less torque because they're running, say, a 64, 66 on a stock engine. Not recommended. Is it okay? Sure. But you're going to give up response, torque down low, things like that with a set of turbochargers that you don't need for the stock engine. And this is why we're able to leave so hard on the foot brake. The shape of the curve with a different intake manifold might be a little bit more angled and get more peak power, but this is why comparing peak power on any specific amount of boost is really not going to tell you how quick the vehicle is going to be without looking at the curve, which is another way to say look at the torque. So let's say on this same 13 pounds with a different intake manifold or maybe some different turbos, we may make 850. Who knows? But how much torque are we going to lose? I'm not sure. That's all sorts of testing that we need to do further with this kit. But most likely, you know, we just got a little bit lucky here with the perfect combination for this vehicle. Let's keep going. So that's, let's see what we got next. 15.6 pounds of boost, 853, 783. This is where a lot of the Whipple trucks you see us do wind up in the mid to high 800 range. They're not making nearly as much torque though, so they're not going to be quite as fast as this setup on this boost level because the power curve is not the same. As you can see here, you know, on a 10 speed, you're not dropping that much RPM. So it's going to be in the meat of this power band the whole entire time, and that's the point. Let's keep going. 16.89 pounds of boost, 880. Now, we only gained 27 horse there, but we did crack 800 torque. As you can see, this line isn't perfectly parallel. The tune was not exactly perfect on this one. I'm sure I could have maximized that to do a little bit better, but we also upped the boost on the next pull. And we're at 935 and 821 on 18 pounds of boost. This is not what we were running. We haven't run this at all on the street yet. We were running somewhere between these two. So let's just say it was probably, we're running about 17 pounds. This is 16.8. So out there on the road, we're probably running between 880 to 910 horsepower and a little over 800 foot-pounds of torque. And then the final pull, we upped it to 19 PSI, and we're at 955 and 840. This is a power level that I would not run very often on a stock engine, but I'm sure we will eventually. I don't want to do that to Clay's truck. I want to give him an opportunity to drive it before we have any issues. But again, you know, some people might say on 19 pounds it should be breaking 1,000 horsepower. Well, it probably would if we went with a different turbo choice, but how much torque would we lose? Or if we went with a different intake manifold, but how much torque would we lose? We don't know this yet. But for most people, I think the 62 turbo with the stock intake manifold is the golden combo. You know, we will most likely do everything to Clay's truck over time. Intake manifold, torque converter, built trans, drive shaft, diff, who knows? There's, you know, the list is endless. You know, maybe move to a 17-inch wheel. So the point is this is the furthest thing from a max effort vehicle you could do. It's the turbo kit, the injectors, the fuel system, full E85, and a boost controller. Obviously, it's lowered, and that's probably important as far as you know, how it leaves on the street. But it would make the same exact power without that. Okay, we're gonna do a draggy real quick for you guys, but I wanted to show you how easy it is to build boost on this setup. With the watt box that we have installed, I just have my foot smashed on the brake pedal, and then I'm gonna floor it. It's that easy. All right, now Bobby's gonna get behind the truck, and we're gonna do a full launch and see what it does. All right, that thing is pretty badass. One thing you may have not noticed is there was some water on the road. It just got done raining about an hour ago, but we wanted to get this video in for you. Yesterday, I was able to do much better on all the incrementals. I had one pass where we went a 155 60 foot, another pass where we went a 418 330. But what do all these numbers mean? Well, you're talking anywhere between a 960 to a 940 quarter mile at this boost level, which was 17 psi. And then with things turned up, you're really, you know, knocking on the door of an 8-second pass with the stock motor. Again, this is on 20-inch tires, a lot of stock parts. The stock intake manifold alone is probably holding us back a decent amount as far as the RPM up top. There's so much untapped potential here, but we don't really need it because we're talking about a mid 9-second car on that dirty, dusty, wet road on 20-inch Mickey SS tires. That is insanity. So we're gonna go ahead and do a 60 to 130 for you next. All right, as you can tell from our testing spot for our digs, we don't have a lot of room around here or places to do this sort of stuff on the street. So Clay's picking the truck up later today. I just took it out on the highway. It's almost rush hour. I did find an empty right-hand lane really fast and didn't have any time to set up, just floored it in drive, downshifted, and boom, it just went. And it's already faster than my truck, so check it out. Here it is. Obviously way more to go. I looked at the log real quick at the stoplight behind me, and there's a lot of little fine tuning that we can do there. One of the shifts wasn't perfect. There was some timing pulled out in one spot, but 580 on the very first try on this setting. I'm super pumped. One other thing I wanted to mention to you guys is our tuning and our tuning support. In these situations, we have spent a tremendous amount of time street tuning this vehicle, dyno tuning this vehicle, everything that comes along with it. We've done this in the past on multiple applications, and it turns out to be a very repeatable tune. But we also offer something called premium support, where you could give us a call, talk to us about your car, get advice. All the tuning support is over the phone. We want to talk to you guys just as much as you want to talk to us. The whole email only thing is great for certain applications, but for these really badass setups, premium support may be something that you want to, you know, consider. And it's a lot more than just tuning support. We also offer discounts on the website, bonus points on our point system on the website. You get a free t-shirt, all sorts of benefits to being a premium member. It's far beyond tuning support. It's more like being a PBD member, period. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Share it with your friends, and we'll see you on the next one.